In the United States of America, there's a process we use to determine if someone is innocent or guilty of a crime. This process is easily manipulated. It all comes down to who acts first. Because of this, Brian Laundrie will never be found guilty of the murder of Gabby Petito. I know this is not news anyone wants to hear. Believe me, I believe myself that Brian Laundrie has something to do with the murder of Gabby Petito. But, as the law states, you are innocent until proven guilty, and you have the right to remain silent. Suspicion is not a reason to arrest someone. Because of these facts, we're going to go over the reasons Brian Laundrie will never be found guilty of the death of Gabby Petito. As we know, you have the right to remain silent. Brian has chosen to be silent, along with Brian's family. Right now, there's a manhunt out for Brian Laundrie for the use of a credit card, unauthorized. It's likely that's Gabriel's credit card. But it's important to say that he is not wanted for the murder of Gabby Petito. That tells us right there's not enough evidence right now to accuse him of the murder of Gabby Petito. He's a person of interest, and they'd like to question him. When it comes to the defense of Brian Laundrie, if they don't have enough evidence, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. So, let's go over a few things. On August 12th, Brian and Gabrielle got pulled over because of a 911 call concerning domestic violence.
We're driving by and I'd like to report a domestic dispute in Florida with the white van, Florida license plate.
There's a 77-minute video uploaded to YouTube where you can watch this whole interaction take place. There's actually a lot of information in this video that helps Brian's defense team if they were trying to prosecute him. As of today, October 4th, he's still only considered a person of interest. Reason number 1, lack of DNA evidence. Both Gabrielle and Brian stated that they have been living together in the van for the past 4 months.
And it sounds like you guys are living together, so you meet the statute for domestic partners.
They were considered domestic partners. At this point, there's only 2 areas where the FBI investigators can find DNA evidence. That would be the van they lived in together and the scene where Gabrielle was found.
But it's not going to be very helpful in the actual autopsy being performed on Gabby right now in order to determine her cause of death because, of course, Brian and Gabby lived together. They were living together here at this house in Northport. They were also on the road together for several months in that van, so it would not be unusual for his DNA to be on her body if they do find that. So
it would not even be considered suspicious if Brian Laundrie's DNA was found on Gabby's body. It's believed that Gabrielle was killed around August 27th. Her body was not found until September 19th. That's 23 days during what officials are calling the second wettest August in Teton County in the past 50 years. How possibly could there be any DNA evidence left at the scene outside of Gabby's body? The other location you'd find DNA evidence would be the van that they lived in together. Brian drove that van back to his home in Northport, Florida, and then sat on it for 11 days. During this time, he hired a lawyer. It's highly likely that he was advised to clean out any DNA evidence that might exist within that van. At this time, no charges have been filed against Brian Laundrie, and that van has already been processed. I would guess that no DNA evidence was found in the van when the FBI processed it. Therefore, when it comes to DNA evidence, I have to believe they don't have enough to arrest or put a warrant out for Brian Laundrie. Number 2, digital evidence. When you join social media, Facebook, Instagram, you agree to a terms of service. What you're actually allowing them to do is trace your whereabouts. That information could be subpoenaed by the FBI and used against you. In the case of Brian Laundrie, Brian didn't own a phone.
I don't have my phone. I don't have a phone, so she goes off without me. But, all right. I'm on my own.
This makes it very difficult to check when the two were together and when they had separated. Being able to sign on to each other's accounts makes it very difficult for investigators to know who was actually posting to Facebook, to Instagram at these times. Also, Gabrielle made mention to police officers that Brian always forgets his cell phone charger. Without a digital trail, it would be impossible to place Brian at the scene of the crime. Number 3. A history of domestic violence. If you were watching the recent news media, you would think that Brian Laundrie is a domestic abuser.
We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
In fact, Gabby was the one who was considered the domestic abuser. But because of her young age and her small size, she was let go without even a citation.
Question, you said you were hitting him in the arm. Did you grab the steering wheel?
No, I didn't.
You did not touch the steering
wheel. But only for like a second.
So at this point, unless the guy's screaming that he needs to go to jail and did something to this girl, it sounds to me like she's the primary aggressor.
Yeah.
Now the problem with her being the primary aggressor is in incidents of domestic assault, be it a male or be it a female, we shall arrest. Now,
this did not happen.
This is what I'm going to do. I've decided I am not going to cite you for domestic violence battery, okay? It was only going to be a Class B misdemeanor. However, the domestic violence portion of it enhances it. Makes life a major pain in the butt, especially at you're 22, right? So I'm choosing not to cite you today.
If the Mohab police officer had properly done their jobs, it's likely Gabby Petito would be alive today. If you disagree, watch the 77-minute video and make your own determination as to whether they did the job properly or allowed a 22-year-old girl to go out and get herself in a terrible situation again. Gabrielle had admitted to hitting Brian multiple times. He had abrasions on his face, cuts on his forehead, and nail marks in his side. All of this was witnessed and documented by the Moab police. Also, when they asked Brian, "Does Gabrielle take medication?" Brian replied, "She's crazy."
yeah, do you know if she takes anything?
She's crazy.
Now, I'm not defending Brian Laundrie, but it does show Gabby's state of mind. This is the person Brian is being accused of murdering.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry. And I was just cleaning and straightening up the back of the van before, and I was apologizing to him and saying, "I'm sorry that I'm so mean, because sometimes I have OCD and sometimes I just get really frustrated. Not like mean towards him. I just like, I guess my vibe is like I am like in a bad mood." And he wouldn't let me in the car before. And then
Why wouldn't he let you in the car? Because of your OCD?
He told me I needed to calm down. Yeah. But I'm perfectly calm. I'm calm all the time. And
Gabby's character will come into question, and her instability could be used to show that her actions are the reason for her demise. Number 4. There's no eyewitness. At this point, no one has come forward to say, "I witnessed Brian Laundrie murder Gabby Petito." Because there's been so much media attention, intimate information has been leaked. At this point, finding someone that doesn't already know important details, as it's highly unlikely, with the news media interviewing friends, neighbors, vloggers, even reality TV stars, information has become tainted and unobtainable. Also, no one has seen Brian since August 12th. This is before the murders even happened. Therefore, any cuts, bruises, abrasions he might have had, there's no eyewitnesses to tell us what he looked like or how he acted after the murders happened. Without any credible eyewitnesses, there's no way a prosecutor would ever bring forward charges against Brian Laundrie for the murder of Gabby Petito. In order to be convicted of a crime of murder, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. This absolutely shuts the door for the prosecution.
The FBI has joined the investigation into the deaths of 2 women found dead in the LaSalle Mountains just last week.
Fox 13 Sydney Glenn spoke with Grand County Sheriff Stephen White about how the murders of Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner are rocking that small town.
On August 18th, these 2 women were found brutally murdered in Moab, Utah. That's 4 days after Brian and Gabby had been pulled over there. It's presumed that 9 days later was when Gabby was killed. At this time, no arrests have been made, but officials have already made it clear that Brian Laundrie is not involved in the murder of these 2 women. Having these 3 murders happen, so close proximity to each other, such a close time frame, and then being cleared of 2 of the murders, this does not fare well for the prosecution. Now I gotta say this again, I'm not defending Brian Laundrie. I believe he has something to do with the murder of Gabby Petito. It's just highly unlikely that when Brian does appear, he will be charged. Gabby's parents know this. Brian's parents know this. The FBI knows this. The media knows this. And most important, Brian Laundrie and his lawyer know this. My only question is, do you now know this? Brian has hired counsel. Therefore, there will never be an admission of guilt. So, with lacking DNA evidence, no cyber trail, Gabby's instability, no eyewitnesses, and recent murders within the same area, it's very unlikely that prosecutors would even charge Brian Laundrie with the murder of Gabby Petito.